You were not meant to be a slave to the grind. You were not meant to trade your life force for money. You can escape gravity. You can unlock your life. You got this. Let's go.
Hey everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of Unlock Your Life. If you are listening to this, you are listening to my 100th episode. So this is a milestone for me. I appreciate you being here on the journey. Guys, Jack Butcher is pretty famously quoted for a tweet that he put out saying 90% of all podcasts don't make it past episode 3, if you can believe that. So 2 million podcasts a year are launched and 1.8 million, 90%, quit before they even get to episode 3. Of that, right, you've got 200,000 people left, podcasts left. 90% of them, so another 180,000, quit after 20 episodes. So all it takes to be in the top 1% of all podcasts is make it to 21 episodes. So I don't know what the metrics are on 100 episodes, but I'm sure it's far fewer. And that's great for me, but I'm not here to pat myself on the back. What does that have to do with you? Well, the point I'm trying to make is success oftentimes just looks like sticking with something long enough, right? Because every year people are falling off, people are quitting, they're giving up, they're saying it's too hard, they want to do something else, they're chasing a shiny object. And there's been times, I'll admit, man, is this podcast working? Is anybody listening to me? It costs money to produce this podcast. It costs time, energy. Like, should I be doing this? And yet, as we get traction, and as I'm getting messages, and as I'm getting feedback, and as I'm making connections and having positive interactions with people that are listening, saying, this podcast changed my life, this episode, showed me a different point of view. I was able to quit my job. I'm now full-time in real estate, or I'm pursuing something that I want. And your podcast was integral in that. I mean, it is amazing, right? And I'm able to connect and talk with a few thousand people a week now are listening to this. And I was digging into the data. And most of the time, the success, or quote unquote success with downloads, and they call them high value podcasts, it comes after 100 episodes. Right, 75% of the time, it comes after 100 episodes, 100, 200, 300 episodes. So that means you may have to do a podcast. Let's say you do a podcast for 30, 40 a year. You're talking 3, 4, 5 years down the road before you really see a whole lot of results. And who's willing to stick with something that long and make it work? And most people, they want to see input in, input out. They want to go to a job, they want to work their 40 hours, and they want to get rewarded at $20 an hour or whatever they're making, and they want to get that paycheck, right? It's easy to see what I did was worth it. And it's not so easy to do that when you don't know if what you're doing is even working, you don't know when it's going to work, and you don't know what the payoff's going to be, or if there ever even will be a payoff, right? Think about getting into, I want to close an apartment deal. I want to close a self-storage deal. I want to close a mobile home park or some sort of commercial deal. You may be 6 months, you may be 12 months away from that, and you may quit, right? You may give up before you get to that point. And a lot of people do, and they're not willing to put in the reps because it's not urgent, right? And they're not seeing that immediate feedback. But you look at people who build things great. I mean, I'll take, for example, Bezos. I mean, I don't know how many years Amazon ran unprofitably until, it hit that inflection point, and all of a sudden, it's the biggest company in the world and he's the richest man in the world. And obviously Amazon is incredibly profitable and incredibly successful now, but it was, I think, 7, 8, 9 years, maybe even longer without that. And he was able to delay gratification. He was able to hang on to that vision and get into, obviously, the top 1% there. And so my encouragement to you today, my message is, are you giving up too fast? Are you giving up too quickly? Are you right at the verge of something breaking through for you, something totally changing, you making a new relationship, and you quit, you stop, you say, oh, that didn't work, and you throw in the towel? Now, I'm all about pivoting, right? right? Sometimes the market shows us, hey, what you're doing is wrong. This isn't working. You need to adjust. You need to adapt. But to give up on your dream, to give up on your goal, what you're trying to achieve and pursue, usually that's not the best option. I got this text yesterday, or no, Monday. Monday, I got this text, and it's a dude. He's in the deal room. Guy's name is Steven. Awesome guy. He jumped into the deal room, I think maybe 8 or 9 months ago, maybe longer. And when he got in, he was very, very busy. He was full-time in sales for an education company. He actually came and worked for me for a little while, doing some sales calls with the deal room. And he came to me and said, Jennings, I got to quit. And I was like, dude, why? You know, why? This is working. Like, you're making money. We're making sales. Why do you want to quit? He said, well, because this isn't really where I want to go long term. I want to own apartments. I want to own mobile home parks. I want to own self-storage. I want to own assets. And I'm just kind of like tagging onto my workload. I'm already doing a full workload with sales. And this is just not really my future. And I really respected that. I thought, this is a guy who he knows where he wants to go. He knows what it's going to take to get there. And this is a distraction. Even though it's good, it's the enemy of great. And he is going to lay that down. He's going to give something up. He's going to change to get what he really, truly wants. So I said, okay, you know, I respect that, man. We appreciated working with you. He stayed in the deal room. And now he's got, a couple more hours a week to focus on what he's doing. So this guy texts me Monday, and he's like, hey, dude, I just wanted to say that I got my first mobile home park under contract. I broke through that wall, right? So he'd made some connections. He had been telling his people, telling his peers, telling his social network, I want to buy mobile home parks. I want to buy apartments. A buddy of his said, hey, I know a guy who's direct to seller, who's, looking to sell. They went under contract. It fell apart. Why don't you reach out to him? He did. They did the underwriting. They made the offer, and they got it under contract for a really, really good price. Then he connected with another guy in the deal room who specializes in mobile home parks, has 90 mobile home parks, and said, hey, I want to disposition this thing. I don't really want to turn it around and operate it, but I've got it under contract at a really good price. Can you help me disposition it? He did his appraisal. He did his analysis. He says, yes, we can sell this for probably about $150,000 more than you have it under contract for. So he's got it under contract. He's working with a connection there. And I don't know what the split is on how they're going to do that, but let's just say it's 50-50, right? So now he's going to put $75K in his pocket just because of he kept pushing, right? And $75,000, I mean, it's not a lot of money, but for a lot of people, that's almost a year's salary. Or for some people, it's more than a year's salary. And it's coming together, in a few weeks. So the point being is he didn't give up. And you know what he told me? He said, hey, my wife and I, we've been saving. I've been making pretty good money in this sales job. I've got runway. I've got a year or two worth of income saved up. I am going full time. I'm going whole hog into this industry. I am going to make this work, do or die. I've got my first deal going. And I'm going to do more, but what if he'd quit? What if he had quit a month ago, 2 months ago? What if he said, well, I'm just going to go back to my sales job? And I don't know what the future holds for Steven, but I've got a feeling that in 3, 4, 5 years, his portfolio is going to look very different. His cash flow is going to look very different. His balance sheet is going to look different. His bank account is going to look very different. His time, right? He's not now on calls day in, day out, grinding it out, trying to win those commissions. And if he doesn't perform, he's not going to get paid. Now he's got something that's going to pay him monthly as he continues to build this portfolio. Just because he had a clear vision of where he wanted to go, and he did it in a responsible manner, but he didn't stop right before he hit pay dirt, right before he hit that gold nugget. I was the same way. I struggled for 2 years learning about this stuff, taking courses. I really didn't connect with any network or masterminds, and I think that really slowed me down. But I didn't stop. I didn't quit. I kept doggedly pursuing, knowing that I want to own a large real estate portfolio, and I'm not going to quit until I do. And then as I got traction, I dedicated more and more time. I quit my construction company. I sold my construction company. I sold off my master territory in the franchise that I was involved in. I dedicated more and more time, and that flywheel kept spinning and kept getting bigger until, it is what it is today. There's a lot of people right now that are a little discouraged. And if you're in the world, right, which you probably are if you're listening to this podcast, if you're in the real estate world, you know that money is tightening up and on all fronts. I'm not just talking about the Fed. I'm not just talking about the banks. I'm talking about investors, right? If you're in this world, you know there are syndicators that are going down. I think I did my last episode or 2 episodes ago was talking about, some of the lessons learned and being spared from some of that pain, but some of the mistakes that I made. And there's a lot of syndicators out there that are not paying investors back. The deal is going under. They're losing 100% of capital. They're getting foreclosed on, et cetera, et cetera. And so the existing investor base out there is kind of tightening up, holding back, saying, whoa, I don't know about this. Maybe this multifamily, maybe this real estate isn't the way to go. And to be fair, if you don't know what you're doing and you don't know how to buy correctly and you don't know how to operate correctly and you're not protecting for the worst side or, the worst case scenario, and you're not only buying phenomenal deals that you can force the equity and force the appreciation in, then yeah, you can get in a lot of trouble in this field and your investors are going to lose money. But that being said, it has been more difficult. It has been a more difficult environment to raise capital. And so we're talking about this in a strategy meeting. My partner, Yaden, Crystal, she works for the deal room full-time. Stacy works for the deal room full-time. And we're talking about how raising capital is becoming a stumbling block, right? People are getting this stuck in their mind that it's hard to raise money right now. People don't want to invest. And I could just feel the momentum shifting, the momentum dropping off, which is what you don't want that. So I said, let's throw down a challenge. Let's throw down the gauntlet. This is probably the last week of November. I said, people are, they're fat and happy. They just ate turkey dinner. Thanksgiving's over. Now they're looking at a couple weeks to Christmas. Let's just kind of coast through the rest of the year. We've got Christmas vacation with the kids and traveling and family and et cetera, et cetera. Most people are probably going to be taking that foot firmly off of the gas. I said, let's flip the script. Let's do something different. Let's throw down a challenge. And so we brainstormed and we came up with $1 Million December. $1 Million December. We had a couple days to prep it, put it together, and here was the plan. And if you're listening, you can do your own $1 Million December or $1 Million January, depending on when you're listening to this, because it's almost Christmas now. So what we did was we said, okay, who wants to commit to this challenge? What if you had $1 million in your bank account, ready to invest, ready to buy a deal, ready to co-GP with somebody? What if you had $1 million at your disposal January 1st? How would that feel? And everybody's like, yeah, heck yeah, that would feel amazing. If I had $1 million, I could go buy a $3-4 million deal. I could get something going. I would love to have $1 million of investable capital. If you're a real estate guy or a business guy or whatever, if you have access to money, you probably know how to turn that money into more money. And if you have that, you can create wealth not only for your investors, but for yourself. And so it's a good thing. As long as you got a safe place, responsible place that you're knowledgeable in to place it, it's a good thing. And so everybody wanted to do it. I said, okay, well, who's going to commit to this? Who is going to commit? I laid out the plan. I said, don't commit if you're not going to do it. Don't commit if you're not willing to do the work. And so we had about 25 people who committed to this plan, $1 Million December. We took the 25 people, we broke them into groups of three or four, and we put them into these little Facebook Messenger group chats. And as they're in that chat, they have accountability group, right? So if one guy falls off, at least there's 2 or 3 left. And the plan was just work the plan. It wasn't that they didn't have the knowledge. Everything we do, the whole process and system for raising capital is laid out in our course. It's laid out in the deal room. We're preaching it every day. But let's start with the basics, right? Step 1, go through your phone, download your contacts. Who possibly would be interested in this? Who should I talk to? Go through your social media, like who's my friends on Facebook? Who's my friends on Instagram that might be interested in this? Make yourself an Excel spreadsheet. Put those email addresses into a CRM, Client Relationship Manager. CRM is something as simple. MailChimp, it's free. You can go get MailChimp in 10 minutes. And now you've got a platform where you can email out. All right, so you're building this database. That's component 1. Component 2 is posting, talking about it. Hey, I'm working on this. Hey, I'm underwriting this deal. If you're interested in having a conversation, hit me up. Hey, I can save you on taxes. We can do cost segregation, depreciation studies on the buildings we build. We can, if you invest $100,000, you can save $80,000 to $100,000 in taxes this year. right? These kind of tactics to meet needs for investors and get those conversations going. There was more to it. There was 3 or 4 homework items. There was a daily check-in. What did you do that day? What did you commit to? And there was also a group leader. So in each of the groups of 3 or 4, there was one designated leader. I didn't want to leave that up to chance. I wanted people's feet being held to the fire because nothing happens without accountability. And so we did this, and I looked in the chat the other day, I think yesterday, and I said, hey guys, give me an update. All 25 people that were doing the $1 Million December Challenge were in that chat. I said, give me an update. And guys, I want to read that update right now. So you ready? Here it is. Jadeep Chadha, $785,000 raised by December 19th. Josh Appleman, $1 million raised. Austin Culp, $1 million raised. Also, an offer submitted for both of those guys on a property. Mariana Osipenko, $1 million raised. Phil Brooks, $600,000 raised. Harish Yar, $650,000 raised. Mohit Chopra, $900,000 raised. Arun Santhaman, $1 million raised. Jonathan Rose, $375K raised. Matt Duncan, $1.7 million raised. BJ Simpson, $350,000 raised. Tim Bowman, $150,000 raised. Steve Outlaw, $175,000 raised. Brian Murphy, $200,000 raised. Cumulative, guys, that's $9.885 million. Basically $10 million raised in 19 days. And when I say raised, I mean these are commitments, and there's obviously more to that. There's going to be some attrition. You got to have a real deal to put in front of the investors. And you can downplay it all you want. Oh, this guy, he only raised $150,000. This guy fell short. He only got $600,000, and he was shooting for $1 million. Well, I promise you they're glad, because if they hadn't done anything, they'd have a big fat $0, right? And even if, let's just say half of those people that soft committed flake out, that's still almost $5 million of real hard committed capital to a future deal. And what this does for these individuals that put in the work and did the challenge is it now gives them confidence in making offers. It gives them confidence in partnerships. When they see a phenomenal deal, they're like, wow, that's a great deal. That's a great operator. I like that team. I want to talk to them about bringing some capital to that deal because I'm prepared. I have a $900,000 war chest of pre-raised money that I can bring to the table. Will I get equity? Absolutely. Will I get a seat at the GP table? Absolutely. And this preparation meeting opportunity is completely magical. And this is what is happening because these people were like, I'm not going to coast through December. I'm not going to kick back. I'm going to put the pedal to the metal. This is a time where people are thinking about taxes. They're thinking about, the year-end financials. They're thinking about giving to their church. They're thinking about planning for next year. They've got cash sitting around. They don't want to just burning a hole in their pocket. They want to invest it, make a return on it. And because of this, these people are going to have a phenomenal 2024 because they refused to stop. They refused to give up. Even when the going got rough, even when all the pundits and all the environment around them was saying, multifamily is kind of in the tank right now. People aren't really wanting to invest, and listening to the naysayers, these guys flipped the script, and girls flipped the script. They hit it head on, and they are unlocking their life through attention and focus. And I promise you, some of these people on this list, they're not heavy hitters in the deal room that have been there for years. They're not people with gigantic portfolios already. These are people, some of them looking to close their first or second deal, and they were able to get commitments. They were able to make traction towards that. So, guys, whether it's 100 podcasts, whether it's breaking through on that first deal, whether it's fear of rejection and maybe getting a couple no's from a few investors, maybe you've been submitting offer after offer and getting turned down, and you're right on the brink of saying, this doesn't work, I don't have what it takes, I'm never going to make this work. Consider, right? Consider, what if the people that do make it, what if the people that you hold up as the epitome of what you want to be or where you want to take your portfolio, what if the only thing that they did differently was they didn't quit? They didn't stop. When it got hard, they dug in. When it got difficult, they kept at it. When they got discouraged, they got back on the horse. When they were flaking out, they got accountability, and they changed their actions, which changed their outcomes and changed the results. What if that was the only difference? When we look at the podcast numbers, it seems to me that's pretty much it. 99% of people quit before episode 20. Guys, success is not that hard. It is so easy to be above average. If you can consistently stick with something, have a proven plan that you're executing, and you execute it over a long enough period of time, you will get results. I say that with conviction because I live it. I see it every day. I see my own journey, right? Not exceptional. I am not an exceptional person. I am not super smart. I am not super rich. I am not super wealthy, super well connected, didn't have a network, nothing. But I didn't quit. I kept going. Even when I was blindly stumbling around with very little direction, no mentors, no network, not getting anywhere, I was getting somewhere, right? Because I was inching closer to going to conferences, connecting with people, joining masterminds, joining groups, plugging in, finding those individuals that could sponsor loans and help me raise capital and give me the confidence to do deals. I was moving very, very slowly, but I was moving in that direction. So I want to make this claim, and I want to make it boldly, and I want you to hear me. The only difference between winners and losers is winners, they just don't quit. They just don't stop. You can't beat me if I don't ever give up. And every inch that you scrape forward is 1 inch closer to where you go. And that goes on an exponential trajectory. At some point, there's an inflection point. And it's different for everybody. And I don't know exactly when it's going to happen for you. I don't know when it's going to happen for my podcast, but I know it will happen. But for so long, that success is so incremental and it's so small and it's so hard to measure that 99% of people give up. So let me ask you, you want to be the 99 or do you want to be the 1? Get out there and unlock your life. Peace.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.